Good morning, everyone. This is Group 3. I'm the leader, Sinali, and allow me to introduce my team, Rashmika, Chathuni, Oshadi, Kavindi, and Sanjani.
Okay.
So, Rashmika, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sinali. Good morning, everyone. Work without hope throws nectar in a sea, and hope without an object cannot live. I'm sure we all are familiar with this starting epigraph of our novel, Nectar in a Sea. So a few weeks earlier, we received a very interesting article from our sir about our novel. And after analyzing it for good 2 to 3 days, we came up with this presentation, Nectar in a Sea by Kamala Markandeya from the eye of Barry Argyle. So allow us to walk you through this presentation where we show you what we extracted from that article. So, Sinali, next slide, please. Thank you. I'm sure we all are familiar with the novel, but in case you're not, this introduction is for you. So as we all know, the book sets in India during a period of intense urban development, and the protagonist of this novel is Rukmani, a strong and a very powerful woman, a child bride married to Navan, a tenant farmer, and an amazing husband. The story is narrated in the first person point of view, and then we can find several very important social occurrences over here, such as the importance of traditional cultural practices, people's reluctance to change, and the impact of economic change. I think this introduction may help you to get an idea about what this novel is about. So next, we'll move on to the combined facts or themes that we got from both Argyle's article and the novel about Nectar in a Sea. So these are the themes that we are going to discuss in our presentation. I am sure my team members will give you a lot of information about these themes, but I think you deserve a little sneak peek into them. So these are the themes that we are going to discuss: nature versus life, tannery versus life, of course, one of the most important themes, women and femininity, another very important one, because Rukmani, being the protagonist of the story, carries the entire society of women in her shoulders, and the notions of change, plausibility, emphasis on time, effect of industrial capitalism, personally one of my favorite themes, so stay tuned for that. And then the white man's exploitation of the non-white, and of course, a theme which goes hand in hand with India, fatalism. So without triggering your curiosity more and more, let us just move on to the actual presentation. Sinali, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rashmika. So I'm going to discuss about the emphasis of time in the aforementioned article. So emphasis of time is a principal theme discussed in this novel. And Argyle's opinion is that accordingly, the emphasis is mainly on time and change. This whole novel is a flashback of Rukmani's whole life. Quote, once we are aware of the fact that life is circular, not linear, we are in a position to understand the organization of the novel. Close quote. Time means change whatsoever. And Rukmani, an Indian peasant woman, plain but intelligent, appears as a child, marries, bears children, grows old, and prepares for death. So in regards to Rukmani, getting used to change whatsoever becomes a sole necessity and a crucial necessity in Rukmani's life. And in the first part of the novel, aka 18 of the novel's 30 chapters, containing their first sentence, a reference to time, to days, nights, years, seasons, to the festivals that mark the seasons. And when coming to the second part of the novel, it is also a journey, which in turn is also another movement of time. So over to you, Chathuni.
Thank you, Sinali. So now I'm going to discuss about the notions of change discussed in the novel. So let's move on to the first point. The story is about time, which means change, but as the narrator tells herself, it's not new. So it's obvious in the novel because with the time, the Rukmani, the protagonist, she changes her life and her behavior. So the next point, as her marriage, Rukmani changes from a happy, well-beloved girl to a young bride ill-equipped for her new life. So after the marriage of Rukmani to Nathan, a tenant farmer, she accepts the downward mobility of her life. So the third point deals with, as time passes, she changes with the caring nature of her husband, changes that were prevalent in the novel. So with the time, she changes herself and her childish behavior becomes a bit mature, and she loves her husband with more than earlier with the time. So therefore, it's prevalent in the novel. So the last point, Rukmini has grown and adapted with the change, for she knows from Nathan's phrase, bend like the grass that you do not break, since it's futile to resist. So the Nathan also says the same thing to Rukmini, to change with the time. So at last, I would like to say, nothing is permanent, but change. So it's again over to you, Sinali.
Thank you, Chathuni. Next slide focuses on the theme of nature versus life in this novel. So this is the story of a woman, a simple woman who never loses her faith in her life or her love, despite her long unceasing battle against nature, changing times, and dire poverty, which is very deeply moving indeed. And environment, or in other terms, nature, is a matrix in which the protagonists live their drama. So indeed, it is no more powerful than heredity. And when it comes to the conflict, this conflict is usually associated with an external conflict. Anyway, internal conflict is also inextricably connected, as at the end of the day, it always comes to the battle between sense and sensibility. A character must overcome his own nature or make a choice between two or more paths, good and evil, logic and emotion. And how nature becomes a dual force in the novel, and how the author strategically uses pathetic fallacy to foreshadow the upcoming hardships of Rukmini's life are also highlighted. So over to you, Oshadi.
Thank you, Sinali. So what I hope you'll get from this slide is a better idea regarding the role of tannery in the novel Nectar in a Sieve. Okay, tannery, the first gift of industrial capitalism. Tannery approaches to this story as a consequence of industrial capitalism. As we all aware, this story has knitted around a rural agricultural background. However, after the subsequent arrival of tannery, the village alters by environmentally and economically. The tannery jeopardizes the blissful and harmonious life of the village. And also, the white man's exploitation of the non-white is reflected. Tannery, the legacy of industrial capitalism, has bequeathed to India as a result of colonial dominance, and it converts the society into a profit-oriented one. So guys, is this tannery a gift of industrial capitalism? It's over you, Kavindi.
Thank you, Oshadi. Guys, I'm going to introduce the fatalism. The Indian culture is basically rooted in spiritually and uh, unshakable faith in a divine justice. The Rukmani passively surrendered to her fate. That's the fate of being a woman, fate of being a human. Rukmani's three sisters were married to well-to-do families with a large dowry, but poor Rukmani married in a poor Nathan without shudder. She accepts her lot. The next point is life flourishes and dies. Flourishes and dies, change is only absolute. Nathan dreams of a happy future and a possible rich crops, but all his dreams end in a smoke because the rain falls. Religious-minded Rukmani once again tries to please their God. The last point is the life meaning is a dynamic thing and change with the circumstance. Life is a circular, not a linear. Thank you. Let's move on to the Sanjani.
Thank you very much, Kavindi. In this slide, I'm going to draw the attention to the theme of plausibility discussed in the novel. Plausibility means the quality of reasonability or probability. According to Mr. Aghi's opinion, the success of the novel depends on its plausibility. Establishing his opinion, the author Kamala Markandeya incorporates that theme brilliantly in the novel, being in the first-person narration and being dependent on characterization. For example, once Rukmani says about a person named Ravi. He moves to the city to escape from the starvation in his village. There he meets an orphan and befriends with him. Then his life becomes full of robberies, alcohol, prostitutes. He sleeps on sidewalk and eats perhaps one meal a day. This proves that the poor suffers whether in the village or whether in the city, whether at home or whether on a journey. This happened a long time ago, but still we see things like this. This applies not only to India, but also a developing country like Sri Lanka and also highly developed United States. Therefore, the novel is possible to anywhere, anytime. In another way, the novel also has broad-hearted, sophisticated views expressed by the author. Therefore, as Mr. Agi's opinion, the novel Nectar in a Sieve becomes success with the mixture of plausibility. So let's move on to Rashmika again.
With that said, we have come up with two very important statements after summarizing all our presentation. One is, all in all, the novel is a portrayal of time, change, nature versus life, and fatalism. And then the entire story is woven around the fact life is circular, not linear. So guys, I hope we all enjoyed our presentation. And finally, I want to say something. Wide world, but as narrow as the coins in your hand. These are not my words, but our protagonist, Rukmani's. So as we all know, in this big world, the happiness we have is very short and limited. So do not hesitate to explore yourselves. Do not hesitate to accept challenges, and do not hesitate to explore more of your talents and your abilities. And also you can do better and time will be good. So thanking all the members for their amazing effort and wonderful contribution towards presentation. Last but definitely not the least, sir, thank you so much for this opportunity, because if not for you, we wouldn't have think of doing something like this. And thank you for encouraging us. Thank you for staying with us. Saying that, thank you everyone. Have a nice day.